Hi, this is Dan Sullivan. I'd like to welcome you to the Multiplier Mindset Podcast. It's a great pleasure today with our Game Changer Transformation to introduce you to David Berg, who lives in wonderful Scottsdale, Arizona. And I've literally spent hundreds of hours talking to David over the last 14 or 15 years. There's a connection there, and that is that I'm an American who moved to Toronto, and David's a Canadian who moved to Scottsdale, Arizona. So he actually started his career in Toronto and then went to Scottsdale, and he had a background as a chiropractor. And I find a lot of the innovators in the healthcare field actually have a background in chiropractic, which has always been a very business-minded part of the healthcare system because they're kind of opposed by a lot of the medical associations because they're a different brand of approaching your healthcare and your physical fitness. David is one of the key members of our new Game Changer program in Strategic Coach, and he has created an absolutely phenomenally simple and phenomenally effective and phenomenally transformative model for healthcare as it relates to businesses especially. And it came about because 7 or 8 years ago, David got hit by a huge increase in his healthcare costs. And he was really ticked off by it because there seemed to be no justification for it. And he said, I'm not going to be able to run a big business. And I should say that David's got a big business by Coach standards. And that is that he's got a whole number of clinics in the Phoenix area, and he's got, hundreds of employees, and so it's very meaningful to him to come up with a solution regarding cost. And just to give you the bottom line of what he's pulled off, so in the last 6 or 7 years now, he's kept his healthcare costs absolutely flat, even though his company has increased. And he's got an amazing formula, which is so simple, it makes you want to hit your head. And he's now taken the model that works for him to keep healthcare costs flat and is doing two things with it. He's taking it right across the country. I think he's close to 40 states now where other companies are actually utilizing Redirect Health. This is what the solution is called, Redirect Health. And he has now created a model where companies that never had healthcare insurance for their employees, and you think about companies like landscaping companies, thinking like cleaning companies, who've never really been able to provide healthcare because most of their workers are minimum wage workers. And he's now rapidly expanding across the country with businesses that have never been able to provide healthcare, but because his model works so effectively at keeping costs down, he can also create economies of scale. It's an entirely new approach to healthcare. It's just when you read about all the news in the United States about, the complexity and the conflicts inside the healthcare system, his is like a hot knife going through butter. I mean, it's just so simple, and yet the results of it are so effective. I'm just so pleased just to personally know him. And, in the Canadian company where we are, healthcare is provided under a national plan, a government plan. In the UK, where we also are, it's provided under a national plan. But in the United States, there's tens of thousands of systems. And as far as I can see, David's is the best system that's ever been created. So we immediately signed up for our Chicago office, and our team members in Chicago are just thrilled with the efficiencies and the savings that this new approach actually creates. So it's just marvelous to see with someone who just had an idea has taken this and turned it into a national solution.
My name is David Berg, and I'm the founder of Redirect Health. And Redirect Health is a business that makes healthcare easy and affordable for people the system doesn't work for today. So people can't afford the deductibles, the co-pays. People can't even afford time off work. And it's the majority of America right now the system doesn't work for. Even if they can afford the insurance, the health care, the deductibles don't work, the time off work, the complexity, the confusion doesn't work. So for those people, we've made healthcare solutions very easy and affordable. and also for the entrepreneurs and the people that hire them. And so I never would have thought I'd be excited about this, but I created a solution for myself, my own business, and it transformed it. And it gave me incredible competitive advantages. And during the recession, we just helped our friends. I helped my friends with it. They were entrepreneurs, survive the recession using healthcare as a tool. And about 3 years ago, I created a company where I spun off that solution. Again, never intended to commercialize it, to sell it, but it's the most valuable thing I do now, is the solution that I created for myself. I think I started as an entrepreneur just out of necessity. I realized when I was young that if I wanted to eat enough food, I needed a hamburger and a candy bar on top of what my parents were feeding me every day. So I did the classical entrepreneurial things where you lie about your age so you can get a paper route, right? I didn't think that I was being an entrepreneur at the time. I was just trying to get that extra hamburger and candy bar that I needed to sustain myself as a young kid. Then I wanted to be an engineer, and I wanted to go into maths and sciences. I really love math and science because you didn't have to know that much stuff. You just show up to test and figure it out, and it was always a little easier for me. But when I got to the University of Toronto, it got very hard, very difficult. I'd never experienced math and science and physics and computer science. It was so hard in my life before, and this really pretty girl smiled at me, and she happened to be in pre-med, so I changed all my classes over to her classes, and it seemed like a very reasonable thing to do. When I was 18-year-old boy's head and mindset, it was very reasonable to change all your courses to pre-med because there was a pretty girl in those classes. 4 years later, I'm going, uh-oh, how did I get here? And then I end up in healthcare. I never really fit, and there's just so many rules and so much compliance, and it was a hard place for me to be, and it took me about, after my schooling, another 10 years to really give myself permission to leave the practice of healthcare and to move into the business of it. And now we're doing an entrepreneurial startup that totally fixes the problems that entrepreneurs are having with healthcare. Because without Dan giving me the framework for thinking, and to some degree, I know it sounds a little weird, but the permission to think that way when nobody else was, it was very powerful for me at that time in my life to leave the traditional way of thinking about healthcare, a traditional way of thinking about anything. So he really gives all the entrepreneurs that he assembles the framework for thinking, and thinking strategically in a way that removes the constraints and the obstacles and the bureaucracy that every other business person in their industry is experiencing. So it's a framework for bypassing those obstacles and those constraints. And a big part of it is tapping into the unique ability. So the unique ability that I've got and other people in my business have got. And I never thought about my unique abilities that way. Those things that I am world class at, that I'm continuing to get better at a pace that is not even really reasonable that I would get better at those things. And that framework helped me start to appreciate my own unique abilities and permission to use it and structure my life so that really the world around me is exposed to my unique abilities more and more and more and more, and paying me for it too. It also gave me the framework for identifying other people's unique abilities, and then creating an organization, a structure where other people's unique abilities are used to supplement mine. I can't help but talk to somebody and be going through the filter. What are their unique abilities? What are their unique abilities? Do I need them? Where do I need them? How could I use this? Who else do they know who would have unique abilities that could serve our mission? It's a way of thinking that I think most entrepreneurs, most people just keep to themselves if they even have those kinds of thoughts. But with the entrepreneurs that Dan assembles, it becomes the way we talk, the way we think. So we organize healthcare in a different way, where most people are used to starting with insurance and then trying to figure out how to make healthcare work and then figure out how to pay for it. We flip it around. We put the insurance at the end. We focus on how do we get care for people, and then we focus on paying for it. And we created a 7-step algorithm that makes it very efficient to get care, where I transformed healthcare from a burden for my company into a competitive advantage that I was using to hire the best employees and gain a productivity level in my industry that nobody else was getting at the time. And even now, I don't think anyone else is getting the levels of productivity we get. But I'd used something that's very negative for most businesses, healthcare cost, healthcare burden, healthcare frustrations, and I solved it and turned it into the biggest competitive advantage my company used. I see a day when every business in America has healthcare working so well, so effectively, so efficiently, that they're absolutely compelled to provide it for free to all their employees and their employees' families and their teams' families. And not necessarily because they just want to be good people or good companies, but because it's a competitive advantage, that it makes no sense not to, that healthcare is working so well that they have to provide it. I see a day when that competitive advantage stretches way beyond just their industries and their communities, but it just further solidifies the American advantage in the global marketplace. I know this right now. I know that any business in America today could do that. They don't know how to. If it takes 25 years, I'm okay with that. I would much rather it took 5 years.
Yeah, the real breakthrough for David was really the concept of unique ability, because like many entrepreneurs, he had started off on his own, and at the beginning, when you're on your own, you do everything, which is necessary, but it's also dangerous, because it's necessary for too long, and that's where the danger is you begin to think that no one else can do anything better than you, and you're highly critical of other people when you delegate to them. So what he began to realize was that he was good at 2 or 3 good things, and among his unique abilities, he's got phenomenal analytical abilities, and he's got a phenomenal ability to take complex systems and make them very simple. And the other thing is he's a phenomenally good collaborator with other skilled people. So he said, if I'm spending a day, I should be doing 3 things. I should be analyzing where I can find greater savings and greater simplicity. I should put together new systems that are much simpler and much more productive. And I should just look for other people whose talents will really multiply the talents of myself personally and the talents of my company. So he said, I can stay with this for the rest of my life, and it's just 3 things that I do, and everything else is done by other people who are skilled team members inside my company, and then outside my company, people who have big systems already who could just use us as a plug-in, just use our system as a plug-in to their system, and we immediately scale in a way that we could never do by trying to scale inside our company. But he's just passionate about the fact that he used to spend 50, 60 hours a week doing everything, and now everything that's really important he can do in 20 or 30 hours, and it's all multipliers. It's all growth. It's all innovation. It's all game-changing. There's a real easy download that really fills you in on all the benefits of actually zeroing in on your unique ability. This is a website where you can go, and it's just a universe, a constant expanding universe of really different kind of transformative thinking about how you as an entrepreneur can get your life real simple, real focused, and real energized just by identifying your unique ability and then surrounding yourself with a unique ability team. To get this download, simply go to uniqueability.com.